So I have to tell you something that happened just about half an hour ago. Hello, by the way, hello. I was going to pick up my car at the Mazda dealer in Springfield, and it's such a fiasco how I went in there needing what I thought was some front brakes and rotors to at $649 minus $75 inspection that would have been taken off for off the total price of the job. And then I get a phone call. I drop it off, and then I get a phone call. And what was weird was the guy went out to go. He said, "Well, there's something I need to check on the car," and I slid the keys across, and he didn't ask where it was parked. He just walked out the door, and he came back in. I told the other girl at the desk. I said, the girl at the desk, not the other girl at the desk. Not like he was the girl and she was the girl, but I don't. Anyways, she said, she looked at me kind of funny, and I said, "He didn't ask me where it was. This is my first time here. How am I supposed to know where to park?" So as soon as I said that, he comes back in and goes, "Well, I hear it clicking, and tooting." And he said, "Where is it?" And I said, "It's out that way," which was the other end. I had to go through the showroom. So I had never taken a car there. I just didn't like the dealership where I bought it from originally. And I thought I'd try something different. My Mazda app said to go there. And it looked like the reviews all were pretty good. So anyways, that happened. I dropped it off, I dropped it off, and then Mitch and I went to Cracker Barrel, the good old Cracker Barrel, to eat some first meal, which is, we don't give them names anymore. We call it first meal or first feeding. So we ate, and then they called me while we were there and said, We've got the estimate for you. It is going to be $649 with a $75, just what I said in the beginning, $75 inspection fee. If you want us to do the work for you, then we take that off. I said, okay. Hold on a minute. So I put her on mute, and then I told Mitch what happened. And he said, "Well, they have it. You may as well go. You felt like you were supposed to do it that way and go there, so just follow through with it." So that's kind of what I'm paraphrasing what he said. Of course, he doesn't exactly talk like that. He just looks at me and like, what are you talking about? So anyways, I take her off a mute, and I give her the go ahead to do it. And then a half an hour to 40 minutes later, 30 to 40 minutes later, they get a call again from them. And they say, "This is so-and-so, blah, 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 from so-and-so, blah, 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 Mazda in Springfield." And it looks like the first tech, "Well, you know that guy that got the key from you?" I said, "Yeah, I went out the wrong door and then came back in." She goes, "Yeah." She said, "He said the first tech said there was 4 centimeters on it, and you didn't have to have the front rotors, that there was enough on there, but you definitely needed the rear rotors and pads changed. We could do both of them." And I said, "Well, what would it cost?" And so she had that total handy. It was over $1,200. And I said, "If I have 4 centimeters, that's still enough." It took me 98,000 miles on my car. And I've never had any brakes changed. So hoo-hoo for Mazda. And I said that to myself. And then I said to them, "I think I'm just going to pick, if I have to have one done and that really needs to be done, then I can do the back ones first." Well, I don't know what about that made it sound like, "We'll call her again, because we'll just tell her she has to have both of them done and she'll do it." So guess what? We get further, let's see, we get done eating? Yeah, we got done eating, and where were we? They had brought the meal, and then I did get another phone call from them, and said that the manager guy said that the first tech guy, he didn't say it was wrong. He said he must have misread it or something. They just gibber and they mean nothing. So it's some kind of English, but not in an intelligible, logical English. You know what I mean? So she said, and she doesn't know what she's talking about. She's worse than me trying to tell the story at this moment. She said, the manager guy, the one that said the first time it was 4 centimeters, said it's 2 to 3 centimeters, and while 3 centimeters is within an acceptable, it would probably should get them both done. And if you can get them both done, we're willing to, she said he's willing to do it for $1,140. So this time when she called, I wanted Mitch to hear. So I put her on speakerphone, and he's looking at me like, what's she saying? And I'm like, I just shrugged. I don't know. So I said, okay, just a minute. I put her on mute, and then he and I talked, and he said, you know, you really don't know anything yet until it's too late. So I said, okay, fine. I agree with you. They're there. Give them a chance. I don't ever have to go back there again. And there's always social media reviews, which is part of why I'm here. But anyways, I take her off mute. I go back and I say, okay, go ahead and do it. Call me when it's ready. She said, okay. And then we decided to just go back home. There were pumpkins fabric pumpkins I needed to put the decorative flowers on. That's something else. And Mitch wanted to go out to his cheddar, he calls it the cheddar, to work on some wooden jack-o'-lanterns. So we killed time until I get the phone call. 4:15, she calls me back. She says, has it done? And then we just went back to pick it up. So we're coming home in through Springfield, and I'm playing back. I asked the guy, that manager guy, I asked the guy about there being a warranty, and he said, well, all these places have a 12 months, 12,000 mile warranty. And he said, well, we would replace them with parts appropriate to this car. And I said, well, you're a Mazda dealer. Were they Mazda parts? And he said, yes, of course. And I said, well, I went 98,000 miles on those. I ought to get more than 12,000 miles on them. Can I get a copy of the warranty? Oh, well, if you have any problems, you just bring it back here. I just kind of think they have something going on that says, good luck. We won't be here by the time you lose these brakes, and you ain't gonna get no 98,000 miles on them. So all of this is going through my mind. I'm driving through Springfield, and I noticed this lady. I had the windows down because it's really, really nice, and I like the air blowing through my ears, all of them. And I'm just thinking, I hate to say I hate, but I'm not fond of trying to be smarter than the people who are trying to fuck you over. I wanted to tell the guy when I went in there, but I didn't want to set up for conflict or anything else, that when he asked about, how was the service, it popped in my mind and I had to bite my tongue. Well, usually I get more foreplay, and then I'm glad my jaw locks. Fortunately, I have peeps that will lock my jaw so that kind of stuff doesn't come out, and it didn't come out. So I'm playing it in my mind. I'm going down Springfield, and I look in the out the window, and there's a lady in the passenger seat in a car that's not the newest car, probably a 1988 Impala, and it's got chrome on it, and she's smoking a cigarette. Her hair is looks like it's long. It's very, very gray and white, and she's very, very wrinkly, and it's up in one of those fake plastic big pearl, the kind where you get beads for going to Mardi Gras or going to Yellow Springs or Boone Tavern after too many bars. It's on the edge of Springfield. Too many bars, too many beers. And so that's in her hair, and it's up. And she sits so low in the passenger seat that I think she should qualify for a booster seat. I mean, she could barely see her chin above it, and I just kept looking at her, and it was a beautiful distraction to my thoughts, because I just was really feeling like this is shitty, this is fucked, and I was mildly entertained, and she's smoking a cigarette, and her fingers, excuse me, her fingers look like rickrack, and they're in between them, and she goes back and she smokes, and we didn't make eye contact. And every time I look at her, she was looking away, but I could feel her looking at me. And she says something to me that is so absolutely funny, because I noticed all those things about her, all those features, her sitting low, all of that. But I didn't notice that she didn't have any teeth either, which explains why her chin looked so short. She probably would have sat taller in the seat if she'd have had teeth. But she said, she looked over, and I looked at the same time. All this time, we taught eye contact. She goes, "Hey, you look so sad. You should be happy." And she spits that at me, and she says that. And it was so, "Hey, you just should be happy." And I thought, I need to stop bitching and whining and just be happy. Because if she can tell me to be happy in her current situation, God bless her. I just wanted to give her a hug. She made my day, and I thought it was worth sharing with you. I hope yours is great too. Bye.